All right. In the meantime, let's go to former CBO Director Doug Holtz-Eakin. Doug, I should remind you, we expect to hear from the president shortly before he heads off on all of this. But the Chuck Schumer reaction, it almost made me think, did the president waste his time making overtures to the Democrats when he got this response? What did you think?
Well, I think it's worth the president's time to reach out to Democrats like Mr. Donnelly, who are, in states that reflect the values that are in this tax reform and could make up for any defections that might be on the Republican side. I think that's a very sensible thing to do. I don't think you should be surprised by the reaction of Senator Schumer. The Democrats, by and large, have given up on tax reform for a number of years now. They're not interested in an argument that says lower rates and broader base, and haven't been for quite some time. So,
yeah, well, there is something to that. I guess the reason why it was bandied about that maybe Schumer and other Democrats would, or at least he would encourage other Democrats to, is that the rich don't benefit as much. Chuck Schumer was saying they do because the top rate is still coming down, even though Republicans talk about with the offset and allowances they'll pay equal, and there could be a higher, still a fourth rate to come. But what do you think of that issue of the rich and whether they are getting a lot out of this, not a lot out of this? What do you think?
I think the most important thing about this tax reform is what's not in the specifics, the tax rates, the deductions, things like that. It's the commitment of this framework to a better environment for business taxation in the U.S. and to make sure that our largest companies no longer build factories overseas and park their earnings overseas. They invest in America and innovate in America, hire here, raise wages here. There are tax cuts for small businesses, which is the majority of business income in the United States and which has a huge impact on job creation and wages. That's where the middle class is going to get the big lift. If we get an economy that gets out of low gear and starts to grow again.
Let me ask you about the $5 trillion in tax cuts that are apparently built into this plan that's been cooked up over 10 years. I think that's the figure I heard, Doug, so if I'm wrong, feel free to correct me. But in the Senate plan, they've allowed for $1.5 trillion in tax revenue potentially lost over the next decade. So that means, just using, I guess, static accounting, that's $3.5 trillion you have to address elsewhere to pay for this. If you're of the mindset you pay for tax cuts, I know that's a debate as well. But what do you think of that?
I think we have a lot of work yet to do. I mean, there's no question about it. The framework's an important step, but it's just that. It's a framework. It's not a tax reform. They're going to follow regular order. They're going to pass budget resolutions in the House and the Senate. They're going to conference them, get a final agreement. They're going to have the Ways and Means pass the tax bill, Senate Finance pass the tax bill, come to a conference agreement, get a final tax bill. That's a lot of work, and it needs to be done. There are a lot of loopholes they have promised to close, a lot of deductions they're going to eliminate. That's the bulk of paying for the tax reduction that we're seeing today. And some of it will be better economic growth. I think this is, in its format, a pro-growth tax reform. I think $1.5 trillion in additional revenue out of growth is a sensible number. And so, we'll see what they do with the rest. That's now the problem of the tax writing committees, and you can be sure there'll be a lot of energy focused on those members.